Hello, Dumelang. This is the session that I've been promising go bua le parents and guardians ba ileng gore bana ba bona ba ileng go university. I'm sure many of you now are worrying about your child. Ufeditse orientation and she's at home, she's at varsity, you are at home and you're wondering how is it going. And I want to talk about three things because many parents do not know how to support their children while they're at the university. Many parents make mistakes in terms of supporting their children. So three things. Number one, remember that your little bundle of joy is now an adult. So phoning them every day is a no. And if they phone you every day, you've got to start talking to them about it. You cannot call every day, my darling. You need to make time to study. You need to get used to the environment. Do you have friends? Are you making friends? And maybe you want to talk to them about how to make friends. That it is important that they let themselves out, approach other students, introduce themselves so that the other students can introduce themselves and they can get to know each other. That's the power of university. If your child goes to university, gets top marks, comes back, no friend that they didn't know before they went to varsity, it's a loss. Because at university, they find children from many different families, many different cities, and many different countries in many campuses. Encourage them to reach out and make friends. And don't call them every day to fill up that space. Don't worry about what they're eating. Remember, your little bundle of joy is now an adult. They'll figure it out. And if you have to call them once a week or connect with them once a week, maybe on a weekend, do so. And always check, how are you doing? Study-wise, how are the lectures and so on. And please, number two, remember, this is not high school. So don't behave as if because they were nailing it at high school, they'll be nailing it now. Remember that at the moment, there's so many things that they need to juggle to get used to, right? So make them aware that you know that university is hard, even if you never went to university. Tell them, I know that it's hard. You've got to get used to new friends, you've got to get used to new lecturers, ways of studying go university. Look at the lecturer, how do they teach in ba fast or slow kana. Remember, I gave them tips the last time on how to make sure that they don't lag behind. Ask them. I hope you look at that video and ask them, are you keeping track? Is your foot still on the pedal? Have you missed classes? How is that strategy of of making sure that you revise what you studied, what you were taught during the day, so that you get a sense of whether they're coping or not. Encourage them to be open. Don't be judgmental. Never ever say something like you are playing, you are not taking things seriously, because if you do that, they will never tell you the truth. They will always want to tell you what you want to hear. You can even say, I heard Mwana was a mang struggled in the first test, and by the time Easter came, the wheels had come off. So just be open so that they can be open with you. If you are not open with them, they will not be open with you. And please, do not burden them with the nitty-gritty mathata a go gae. Do not tell them all those problems. Malome se mang a shapa malome mosadi wa gagwe ko kae ba mathisana ko kae go shwele mang. Don't. You know the people that your child is close with. If they pass on, handle that carefully. If there's a chance that they might know if you don't tell them, then tell them. But don't tell them the detail of how they died. Talk about it as a moment to connect with what that relative did. As a precious moment that you are there to witness, and that they don't have to come home, and that you will make a special moment for them to connect with the relative who passed on. Make it easy for them to handle. Don't call them and cry on the phone. If you do that, you're stressing them. They already have a lot of stress at campus. So don't stress them. When you tell them about bad news from home, only the bad news that you have to tell them, like a close relative died and they were close to them and there's a chance that they will know, then you tell them. But squabbles of neighbors at home, whatever, don't tell them. Those you'll talk about when you come home. You don't want them to be so stressed, worried about who's hurting at home and so on, and that they cannot even focus on their studies. So what you don't need to share, because it's too much bad news, do not share. Share the good news. Tell them how excited you are. Tell them how willing you are to support them. Tell them that you are here to listen to them. And you know that even if it may be tough at the beginning, you know that it will get better. Assure them of that. If you went to university, you know what I'm talking about. Tell them that it's not easy, but of course they've got all it takes. And they've got to make sure that they don't focus on other things. Don't burden them with a lot of preachings and so on. Don't worry too much on their behalf. Focus on what they can do. Number 3, if you hear from your child that either she's not well, mental health issues, suddenly she's been diagnosed with bipolar or whatever mental health issue, pay attention. Look at their marks. And if their marks are going down, like, talk to them openly about this and say, I know that if you're diagnosed with this, it may affect your studies. So let's share the marks so that I can be able to find help for you. And when they share their marks, you've got to be open. Don't do the thing be open. Let them share their marks. And by the way, I say this, and some of you think that it's only children from poor families who struggle with this. Many children from well-to-do families struggle. And parents don't know how to ask. Parents just make demands. All parents think their child should not be in humanities, should be doing PPE. All parents think they shouldn't be doing physiotherapy, they should be doing medicine. All parents think they shouldn't be doing analytics, they must be doing actual science. Because everybody think that those are top class things. And so you burden them that they must get good marks in their course that they're doing, the Faculty of Humanities, so that they can move to PPE. Do not do that. Their marks are low. Keep monitoring, and perhaps you might want to try talking to an educational psychologist. I know that sometimes it sounds like that's not for you or that's not for your child. Let me tell you, smart kids, extremely gifted children, often struggle with some mental health issue. Many of them are on a spectrum of some sort, and sometimes you only get to know when you take them for assessment. I know I have a child who was diagnosed with ADHD only when they're at varsity. And once we know what it was, once he knew what it was, he knew how to manage it. I have one who was diagnosed with anxiety, mild bipolar, and so on. And once he knew what was going on, things got better. And the most important thing is this: educational psychologists will, even if a child has got an illness or a condition that requires them to be away from stressful situations when they will write that to the university, so that perhaps your child is one of those who's going to write an exam separately, the test separately. And perhaps it's one of those who needs to be given 15 minutes extra per hour or 30 minutes extra per hour. You will never know until you take them to an educational psychologist. High school doesn't check this. High school is very nice. Teachers nurture children, especially those who are smart. But at university, there is no time for that. So pay attention. Don't just blame them. We do not want our children to end up thinking that they don't deserve to live simply because they are not pleasing you as their parents. So pay attention, be empathetic. Do not just assume they are not studying. If they are drinking too much or they've started weed, Like, pay attention. Talk to them at particular times over the weekend so that if they're smoking weed or they're drinking too much, don't just shout. Maybe you need to visit them and understand what's going on. Maybe you need to wait for them when they come home during Easter so that you understand what's going on. And of course, in closing, Easter holidays are coming. It's a short break, a mid-semester break. Many of your children will be coming home. And note, do not call them a doctor already simply because they're studying medicine. Slow down. Just imagine, the poor child is at home, course is chowing, and you, the parent, are already talking about her as a doctor. Neighbors, they're already saying Dr. Simangmang. Do you think your child won't be depressed? I mean, it is depressing. They might not even want to come home anymore. That's why at university there are so many young people. When holiday time comes, they don't want to go home because the stress of the whole village coming to your place to come and see Dr. Mamokgeti ubereka yang. Dr. Mamokgeti, they're already saying that. Meantime, you can't even pass test 1. It's hectic. So parents, protect your children. If they don't want to be seen at church, they don't want other children to put pressure on them, leave them. They are adults now. Leave them to stay at home. Don't drag them so that all boys are okay again. Just leave them at home. All right? So there you are. I'll be connecting with you again to keep supporting you, to keep giving you examples, but also to talk to people who have gone through or who have the degrees that your children are doing and they've got experiences, and so that your children can get a sense of what does it mean to do a degree where I major in psychology. What are the possibilities? Because many of them think that being a clinical psychologist is the only way to go, and many of them are studying LLBs, but they have no idea what happens when they get the LLB degree. Oh, well, maybe they only know that they have to find a position as a candidate attorney, but they don't know what it means, how easy or tough it will be, what happens once they're in the law firm as a candidate attorney. Many, many questions. I'll be holding your hand. And of course, young people, the next session, I want to talk to you about Mojolo. And I want your parents to join us as well, because this is an important topic. I mean, everybody wants Mojolo, but nobody wants to talk about it. Everybody pretends as if it's not happening. Hey, it's happening. So mom, dad, join me the next time. It will be a session on Mojolo and you should be there. Thank you very much. Have a good week.